Hey everybody, this is Dark Side Ali here, and I know this is not usually one of the things I do, but I'm gonna branch out a little bit, and this is one of the series that I've been really waiting for. I'm hoping that these episodes are gonna be phenomenal, that it actually is gonna give us a lot of depth and character and story, and it's called The Mandalorian, as you can see in front of you in your screen. This is probably quite possibly one of the best damn live action Star Wars shows I've seen in a long time. There has not been very many, but I could tell you right now that this one is going to be it's going to be the best live action Star Wars we're going to have in a very long time. The TV show is phenomenal. It's very well done. I give applaud to Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni for giving the fans. To me, it feels like they're just saying, "Hey, you know what? This is what we're gonna do. Hope you guys enjoy it." They're not trying to pander. They're not trying to tell some SJW story. They're just telling you the story of this character, the Mandalorian. And I'm not going to try to get into whole depth about what happened in the first three episodes. I will start giving some opinionated views about what they did from this point forward. It's on every Friday, so I will make that a calendar mark to DVR it and then watch it. And hopefully I give you guys some new material, because I know that I don't do a lot of videos, but this is gonna be one I'm gonna add on to the mix because I cannot wait for this. And also next week we're gonna have the Crisis event, so we're gonna have the start of the Crisis event. So the next following week is gonna be Crisis itself, starting on December 8th, and I will give some reviews on each of those episodes. I will watch Supergirl. I will watch Batwoman. I want to know what's going on, but we just got to see. Okay, there's a lot of problems with that, but we got to see. Now, these first three episodes, hands down, the best damn series I've ever seen in my life. One of the best. I'm sorry, one of the best series I've seen in my life, especially with Star Wars related. Clone Wars is top notch. I really love it. Rebels was a little bit more cartoony because it was on Disney XD, I think it was. And but Clone Wars was very well more adult oriented, and it was dealing with wartime, and it did a lot of fables and universe building for not just Anakin but everyone around, and even Ahsoka towards the series finale. And I think they did a really good job. Now Mandalorian is, it feels like a western. It feels like a good classic western with how they did the music. It feels very grounded. It feels very more character driven, and I think that they're doing more with body language than they are doing with facial language, because a lot of people I'm hearing from a lot of people is they want to see his face more, and I go, no, they put in a rule already that Mandalorians do not take off their helmets for anything. The only time they'll take off their helmet is unless they're around other Mandalorians, and even then they won't take off their helmets. So it takes a lot for a Mandalorian to take off his helmet. You have to forcibly do it, or you have to do it when they're dead. That's pretty much what it is. So, um, so they already established a grand amount of rules, and they're keeping to those rules. So I'm hoping that they don't try to do a slippery slope. I hope that they don't they don't cave to minority groups. I hope that they keep to their objective, and they just keep telling the same stories. If people don't like it, they can go jump off a cliff. It's perfectly fine. You don't have to like this show. You can just come in and go, hey, you know what? It's a really good show. End of story. Oh, they don't have this. Okay, so what? Move on. Move along. Move along. So, this is not the droid you're looking for. So but this series is well made, not for everybody. This is made for adults. There's a lot of action here. There's a lot of death. I mean, it's not going to be simple stuff. I mean, it's not going to be very simplistic when it comes to things. It's going to be very hardcore. But of course, they're going to keep it to the same vein of being I would say about a good light PG-13, what we see in the movies. When it comes to the action and a lot of the physical action. So this first episode was done very well. I am enjoying Pedro Pascal's Mandalorian. I am getting a lot of his body language more than if you even had him outside of the suit. I get way more than that. I can see he's conflicted. I can see them using the torment of what happened on Mandalore, the attack by the Empire. We know that the Empire attacked them. Um, we know that it must have been the Separatists because the Empire doesn't use robots like they did in the they displayed in the second episode, but we know that it must have been the Separatists. So this was during the Clone Wars. So there's a lot going on there, and I cannot wait to get a little more context to his character and why he's the way he is. Now we got introduced to quite possibly one of the most adorable, cutest characters in all of Star Wars right now. It is their new baby. It is basically the girls and the fans' new baby Groot. It's the new baby Yoda. I have nothing wrong with the character. I think that the character is very well done. They're keeping it very simple. They're not shoving it in your face. They're having to do some cute things because it's the levity of Baby Yoda that actually gives the show a lot more heart. And I'm fine with that because Mandalore does not the Mandalorian the main character here does not need to be cutesy wootsy. And they're keeping him stoic, they're keeping him very detached, and they're keeping him very by the book and very merc. He is a merc. There is no cutesy wootsy with him. But Baby Yoda, his character is the heart of the whole situation. His character is the soul, is going to be his new soul. So I'm very well hoping that they don't soften him up to the point where he becomes a soppy mess. I hope that they just have him where he will show that humanity, but he still will get the job done. He will put a blaster in a person's face and blow their faces off. And I'd rather have that. And you could see that conflict even in the Baby Yoda when he sees him being very vicious and being very malicious about what he wants. Not malicious, but being very vicious with what he's doing. And I think that a lot of people will start to understand that and they'll be very happy with it. Hold on one second. Okay, so we get introduced to Baby Yoda, and that's going to be the new heart and soul for the Mandalorian. Now we get introduced to his handler, who is Carl Weathers' character, and I think they did a really good job with his character. He's a Mando. Not Mando. I'm sorry, not him Mando. He's a straight mercenary. In some ways, he emanates a lot of Lando Calrissian in some ways. He's very he does the job, but he wants to celebrate and have women and drinks and this. It's like he doesn't understand that a Mando does not do stuff like that. They don't care. They want to go on to the next job and move on. But he is his friend in a certain way. But they know he doesn't see him as a friend. He sees him as, you're my handler. You just give me the job and I move on. So I'm hoping that they build this. I hope that people don't think that there's this anger and hatred between the two of them. No, it's more of a business. The fact is, what happened in the episodes, and I'll get to it in a little bit. It really now starts to make it where they're gonna become enemies. So the first episode we get introduced to Baby Yoda, and in the second episode he takes the Baby Yoda back to his handler and back to the people that gave him the job. So he's wondering what they're going to do with it, because throughout the first episode he's seeing that there's something different about this creature. He doesn't know what it is. But we do. I mean, as the fans, I mean, as audience members, we know who that is. I mean, it's a baby version of Yoda. So we don't know very much about the creature. We don't know what the race is. We don't know anything. That's why we call him Baby Yoda, because Yoda is one of the most iconic characters in all of Star Wars, and we don't know what it is, and we don't know if George Lucas even had an idea of giving his Yoda a race. We don't know nothing about it. But Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau, they came up with this idea, and it actually works because everyone calls him Baby Yoda, but they're keeping it very mysterious. And I think even they won't touch it. They will not touch the name of that race and spoil the mystery of Yoda and what Yoda is and why they lived for so long. And we don't know if Yoda was able to live for so long because of the Force, or it's just because of the natural progression of their race. We know that they established in the series that baby Yoda is about 50 years old and he's still an infant. So what? Okay, so they age differently than we do. Probably their their gestive period when when they're about to be born is much different than us. Who knows? I mean, we don't know very much about the race. So I'm thinking that they're going to keep it very, very secretive, and they're going to keep it very secret, and that's very good. I don't. People are going to get mad. They're going to get upset. Whatever. That's perfectly fine. We've lived this long with the mystery of Yoda. I think we'll be perfectly fine with keeping Yoda's race a mystery again. I'm very happy with that. There's some secrets that need to just be a secret, and it's perfectly fine. Having everything explained takes away the complete mystery of Yoda because it won't live up to what we have in our heads. So I'd rather just leave it the heck alone. They just found it. They found it in an egg somewhere, and now there's like, hey, okay, cool, let's dissect it. So we know that they're gonna try to dissect it. The Mandalorian gets pissed off. He knows that this is wrong, and he just says, you know what, I'm good. And he goes and gets the kid because he feels there's a strong connection with this kid, and he doesn't know why. He and I have a huge suspicion it's mainly due to not because of the Force. People say, oh, it's the Force. No, it's not because of the Force. It's mainly because it's mainly because they're both orphans. That's what I think it is. They're both orphans, and the fact that we that his character, we've seen a lot of his backstory progression, that his mother and father put him in a storm cellar to protect him, and they get killed, and he gets found by a super blaster droid. And again, the Empire doesn't use those type of droids. They don't. They use a different type of droid. So this must be during Clone Wars, which means that um, it must be during Clone Wars, which means, in all honesty, that means that it must have been separatists. So the Mandalorian is old. He's old. He's probably around in his 40s. So we don't know. Or he could be, no, no, not in his 40s. He could be in his 30s. We don't know. So, um, in a display of some awesome tools and and being a bounty hunter, he was able to infiltrate inside this bunker and kill almost all the stormtroopers and get the baby and get the heck out. And he barely suffered any damages. And he decides to take the kid, which actually gets him now in the marks of all the bounty hunters on that planet, and he fights his way out of there. And now his own people show up to protect him because they know that no Mandalorian would ever betray a contract unless there is something important. It must be something so important for him to betray a contract. So they knew that he would not, no Mandalorian would ever do that. So they knew that it must be very, very important. That's why they protected him. They're not that cold-hearted people. If you really, really want to get down to a Mandalorian, they're like Deathstroke. It takes a lot to make Deathstroke leave a contract. Same goes for Deadpool. They have a code. And if he betrayed the contract, it must have been very, very important. It must have been something very, very important. Now, they may not see the same thing he says, but they go, okay, it must be very important to you to do this. We'll back you, but don't stress your luck. That's pretty much how he's going to look at it. And it makes sense. Because they're not going to see the same type of connection he does with his baby Yoda. They're going to say, well, it's just a child. Whoopie freaking do. It was a bounty mark. You should just give it up. So it must have been something very important for him to do this. And a few of them will understand why he did it. Others won't. But that's why they're going to say to him, we're going to back you on this, but don't stress your luck. Don't make this a habit. And he's not. Unless it's very, very important. So I have a huge suspicion again that he's going to test his luck against his own people. It's going to be a lot. But we have Baby Yoda throughout the rest of this series, most likely, and we're going to see the progression of his character with the Baby Yoda. Now, in my personal opinion, Episode 2 was probably one of the best damn episodes I've seen. it gave us so much more to his character. He he was co-signed to death. He fought against like a woolly rhino type of creature. He was almost about to die. He pulled out a little knife to say, okay, well, if I'm gonna die here, I'm at least gonna take this thing with me. But Baby Yoda, using the Force, lift this creature up and kept it floating there, and he's straining while doing this. But that's a massive level of power. So the Mandalorian looked at this like, so this is what this creature can do. He didn't know this. That means it's special. He's not gonna do. So that again, this was before he was gonna. He was in the middle of taking this creature back and the stuff that happened in the second episode. And again, I'd rather for you guys to watch it, so I'm gonna give you a broad stroke about what's going on. But the second episode was very, very well done, and he was able to get the objective done and get back to the planet and turn the child in. Like I said, he was getting paid in Mandalorian steel, and for Mandalorians, that's a hefty payment. That's a hefty payment. That's how they create their armor and their tools and their gadgets. It's all made out of Mando steel. It's very, very durable. It's almost in the same verge. If they have it in this universe, it's almost the same verge as kurtosis, but it gets blaster fire. Most times, the Empire, if I remember correctly, I think the Empire stole as much Mando steel they made possible and made it out of their ships. They used it to make out of their ships. So their ships can be made out of Mandalorian steel and take blaster damage a lot easier than anything else. They didn't give it to their stormtroopers. They're like, they're dispendable. They got too many of them. It's all good. So I'm really hoping that they do a really good job with this. Um, the third episode was still very good. Again, he in a way broke the contract, and now there's a bounty on him, and he gets confronted by Carl Weathers again, and Carl Weathers says, "Dude, you don't know what you're doing here, and you're breaking the rules of the guild." But the Mandalorian doesn't care. He knows that this kid is special, and this is not right. So he blasted Carl Weathers in the chest. Carl Weathers flew out of the back of his ship, and you're gonna find out that he has Mando steel, and that saved him from the blaster. So the Mandalorian leaves the planet, and now he's on the run, and he has a bounty. He's gonna have a huge bounty on his head. So these three episodes were phenomenal. I think that this is honestly what a lot of us want for comic book movies and for comic book TV shows and for Star Wars, even for Star Wars and Star Trek. This show is not pandering to anybody. It's just giving you a Star Wars level story. This is a Star Wars story. It's not pandering to anybody. The only thing it pandered to was giving us the baby Yoda. That's it. Pandering the aww because of how cute it is. That's it. And I'm perfectly okay with that because the Mandalorian, he's not being cutesy wootsy. He's being a stoic mercenary. And now you gave him a heart and conscience out of baby Yoda. And now you're going to see the evolution of his character. He's not going to become a soft-hearted person. No, this dude is gonna still kill people for money, but he's gonna do things a certain way. He's gonna develop a certain level of code, and I think that that's the best way of doing his character. Now, I still think this is gonna be the pivotal point for Star Wars to see where they're gonna go from this point forward. I think that, in all honesty, the Mandalorian. They need to watch The Mandalorian. They need to sit back and watch how this show evolves. If it starts getting more and more people viewing it, more and more people are viewing it, there's positive buzz. People are talking about it, not in a very positive light, not listening to the SJW crowd who's just gonna hate it because they want to see women all over the place, and that's what they want. And the moment you bend the knee, guess what? They're gonna ask for more. You give a little, and they want to take a mile, and that's what's gonna happen. And John Favreau and Dave Filoni, they don't care about that. They just want to tell a damn good story, and this is a damn good story. This first three episodes are by far miles ahead of anything I've ever seen out of Star Wars since 4, 5, and 6. 1, 2, and 3 were good, but it wasn't that good. Clone Wars was phenomenal. It was phenomenal during those days, and they kept that canon. Rebels was a tier below it. I'm sorry, it wasn't that good. They made it very kiddie, in certain aspects, but there are some adult oriented type of things in there that gather more adults. This is not kids. This is made more for teenagers to adults. Kids should not be able to watch this. There's a lot of monsters. There's a lot of they could be able to watch this. It's a light PG-13, but I think that the Baby Yoda is going to be the only thing they're going to really give a care about. And then on top of that, the Mandalorian being the way he is, I think they're going to be more inclined to that. We're going to get women in this series. Right now, the main guy in the whole story, the main person in the whole story is the Mandalorian. It's about him. It has nothing to do with his whole side people. I mean, again, Baby Yoda is going to be the next most important person to him. But other than that, it's all about him. It's all about his journey and what's going to be happening with his character. Now, his tools, his kit, his armor, everything got upgraded ever since the third episode. He looks a lot more Mando, and also, his armor is a lot more in pace with what we've seen already. It becomes more Mandalorian, more clean, more sleek, and I think they did a really good job with it. Okay, now what do I rate this? Um, there's some people out there saying it's perfect. Nothing is really perfect. Okay, it's only perfect in your own mind. If I'm gonna go off of the story, if I'm gonna go off of the characters, if I'm gonna go off of what I know right now, and also the grandeur of Star Wars itself, I'm giving it a solid 9. It is a 9, almost a 9.5. There are some things that I think that is very interesting, and I think I want to see how this universe builds. I want to see at the very end, and I want to judge it from that. However, individual episodes, the first episode is a great solid 9. Episode 2 was a 9.5, and this third episode was a 9. I'm sorry, not 9.5, but it was a 9. There was a couple of things that made me go, really? Because we don't know much about his character. It was just more action packed to get us further for the Baby Yoda story. So we got a little bit more of the Mandalorians, and that's good. That's good. I'm very happy with that. But when it comes to certain other things, I'm like, okay, I can't give it a perfect score because I got to see how this plot thread leads to this and it leads up to that. But the one thing I agree with, and I will link the Heels versus Babyface video. He's a very good guy. He speaks his mind. He doesn't care, and I do agree with him on a lot of points, especially about this episode. They set up and they give you the payoff, and they do it very, very well. They set up the Mandalorian steel and they pay it off by giving him new armor. They set up the fact that there's more Mandalorian armor and the fact that it paid off with Carl Weathers' character living. They set up the story. They set up more about the Mandalorians and their own culture and their own religion. Now it's a culture, not a religion. It's a culture. Their culture. And the fact that they looked at him and they say he's not a real Mandalorian. He hasn't done this. He hasn't done this. He doesn't have the what they call their engravings. Now their engravings are the monsters they've killed and also the levels of battles they've won. He hasn't done anything yet. He's still relatively young. So he got disrespected. But him grabbing up the Baby Yoda and leaving, he's gonna get it. So again, there's a lot of things I really really like, and there's some things I go, let's wait until I a little bit further, and I will literally keep that in mind. But like I said, this series already is a 9, close to a 9 and a quarter. It's going to become 9.5, and we have to wait until further down the episodes. Now they're saying that this is about 8 episodes a season. I'm glad of that. That this does not need. You can't stretch this for 23 episodes because then you're going to come into a lot of problems. I think 8 episodes is perfectly fine for this, and that gives them enough time to actually work on the other season. Now I'm hearing that Jon Favreau is thumbing up another season. I think that this should be their main. He should be their main person. He should be the main person behind it. He created it. He gave the story treatment. I think Dave Filoni should be a secondary. These two should be the main creative team of this whole series. If Jon Favreau wants to leave and do a movie, at least Dave Filoni can keep on what Jon Favreau wants, and that's fine. So I am behind this. I love it. I'm even enjoying Baby Yoda. I do find him cute. I do find him very adorable. But Baby Yoda to me is not the end all be all of the series, but it is a great addition to his character, and it gives him a lot more heart because we think that most times that most Mandalorians they're just by the book and they do the job and that's it. Like we've only thing we know learned of Boba Fett. Boba Fett that has no care, no wants or no cares, and that's mainly due to the fact is he lost his dad in the Clone Wars, and he had all this hatred for the Republic and for the Empire. He doesn't care. He has no care in the world. This Mandalorian is not in the same boat. He has his people, and he is a true Mandalorian, but he also now has this creature that sees him as a really good friend, and he wants to experience the galaxy. And now the Mandalorian can be able to learn. They both can learn from each other. So like, comment, share, subscribe down below, hit that bell. Happy Thanksgiving for myself, from Hawk to all you guys out there. This is Dark Side Elite, and I bid you, may the Force be with you.